Welcome to Well Fed, where I help you level up your cooking skills so you can finish your quest with a proper food buff. Today we'll be making bread, something that I myself am even pretty new at. Getting started, you'll take 3/4 of a cup of water and a half cup of milk. You're going to heat that to 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your milk mixture hits 98 degrees Fahrenheit, add a tablespoon of Active Dry Yeast, give it a mix, and let it sit for about 10 minutes. 98 degrees, whatever happened to those guys? While we're waiting for the yeast to bloom, in a mixing bowl you're going to add 3 cups of bread flour, a teaspoon and a half of iodized salt or sea salt, and 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Once everything's combined in the bowl, give it a nice mixy jones and set that aside. In one more separate bowl, you're going to grease up the sides with some softened butter. Once your yeast mixture is bloomed, go ahead and add that to the bowl where your flour mixture is. And this is where you're going to have the most fun. You're going to mix it all up till it's pretty well combined. Once your dough is formed into a rough ball, you're going to add 3 tablespoons of softened room temperature butter. Add one at a time. I started with one here and then I added the next 2, basically just make sure it's nice and incorporated. Fun fact, while I'm playing around, I did try this exact same recipe with almond milk and vegan butter in place of those 2 dairy ingredients, and they turned out perfect. This would also make it a lactose intolerant friendly recipe. You can also do this exact same process in a stand mixer with a dough hook attachment. I prefer to work with my hands, but that's another option as well. Once your dough is nice and incorporated, it's time to ditch the bowl and you're going to start kneading it on their clean countertop. There's probably a better trick to kneading the dough, but I was told to fold it in half, press it into itself, rotate, then fold it in half, press it into itself. Just keep repeating that. If you have a better way, let me know in the comments. After you knead the dough for a few minutes, you're going to form it into a ball and put it into that greased bowl that we set aside earlier. Then you can cover it with greased up plastic wrap or a damp towel, and you're going to let this sit for about an hour to an hour and a half until it doubles in size. Use that hour to go play a game or watch a movie. When that hour is close to being up, you're going to grease up a bread pan and set that aside for later. While the focus of Well Fed is all about cooking, I am also an avid gamer, and in the description below I'll have a link to all my gaming content and social media if you want to check those out. Next up, you're going to uncover your dough ball that's doubled in size. You're going to give it a nice high five to degas it. Do it a couple times if you need to. Then you're going to pull it out of the bowl and put it onto a lightly floured work surface. This is where you're going to flatten it out and put it in your bread pan. Just after pulling the dough out, all you need to do is flour it and flatten it out. I decided to keep this footage in here to show you what not to do. I definitely overhandled the dough here. Thankfully the bread did turn out fine, but all you should need to do is pull it out, flour it, flatten it out to be about the same size as your bread pan. Once your dough is completely flattened out, you're going to take it from the top or the bottom. You're going to tightly roll it as I am right here. Once your dough is fully rolled up, you're going to place it seam side down on your bread pan that you just greased up and set aside earlier. And then you can either place another bread pan inverted on top of it, or a damp towel will work just fine as well. Just make sure it's clean. You're going to let this sit here for about 45 minutes. After about 30 minutes, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and then set another 15-minute timer. That should be enough time for the oven to preheat. After your dough is beautifully filled up the pan, you're going to put it in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes until there's a golden brown crust on the top. Remove the bread from the oven with your +10 heat-resistant gloves so you don't take any burn damage. Then you're going to turn that out onto a wire rack so it can cool for a little bit before you cut into it. Definitely be a lot more careful than I was right here. I had to use a burn heel on my hand after this one. I clearly didn't learn my lesson from the other hand. Once your bread is fully cooled, transfer it to a cutting board. Since this is level 1 bread, you'll probably have a level 1 serrated dagger laying around. Use this to cut off a few slices for you and your party to share. This recipe should help you in your next adventure. If your cooking skill leveled up from this video, drop a like. And if you want to learn more, subscribe for more recipes to help you on your next quest. Thank you and see you next time.